we're going to be talking about why your pentatonic solos always sound the same and what it is that you can do about it in order to make sure that you have a wide variety of different things that you can do so that you always sound fresh and just like you're on your game when you're soloing with the pentatonic scale. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so a lot of people that I have this concern come up with who have asked me about it, when they solo, they probably sound something like this when they're playing with a pentatonic scale. So how do we fix this? First of all, we need to identify the problems that are going on here, and then we'll talk about how to fix those problems once we've identified it. So, several problems going on. First of all, let's talk about the rhythms I'm playing. So most of the time when I hear people doing this, they're playing the same rhythms over and over. So in that case, I was playing eighth notes, and I wasn't just playing eighth notes, but I was actually phrasing them in a similar way. All of the phrases were the same length. They were da, 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 maybe 5 notes, 4 notes, 6 notes, roughly the same amount of time. There wasn't anything that was really short, or there wasn't anything that was really long and extended. So that's a problem right there. Another problem is that the dynamics were the same the whole entire time. So I was playing the same volume the whole entire time. Just this kind of middle volume. I was never playing like really quiet, like, or even loud. Right? You hear the difference in intensities when the volume goes down, the volume goes up. So that's a problem that can, even if nothing else changed, if we change that, it would make things sound a lot better. Now, let's talk about the actual rhythms themselves. Eighth notes are great, and they're in time and all that, but we need to have a different variety of rhythms to be able to play. So there was no 16th notes, there was no triplets, there weren't even really any quarter notes. So we want to be able to get some more rhythms in there. We're going to be talking about how to do that in a second. And then finally, of course, the whole entire thing was just in like one position. By the way, this is the key of C sharp minor. So there wasn't any just variation like with the next position over. So I was very limited in my note choice. It was only to that one position, whereas there's all these other positions here that I could have been using and also higher up in the fretboard. Right? By the way, if you can play like this, you've made a major accomplishment in your guitar playing, okay? You've learned a scale, you've learned how to play it in time, you've learned how to make some different variations of the order of the notes and all the stuff, and that is fantastic, okay? You should be very, very happy about that, okay? You shouldn't be upset, oh my God, I don't sound just like John Mayer or anything. But at the same time, we do want to make progress. So what I always tell people, once they've gotten that basic process of improvisation down, they've gotten comfortable with some different rhythms, they've gotten comfortable with some of the other issues that we've talked about, like playing in different positions, etc., etc. Here's the main thing that's gonna help fix all these problems, okay? And it is this: you need to learn good vocabulary to be able to play, okay? So whether that's learning a solo from one of your favorite guitar players, whether that is learning some cool licks from a YouTube video that you like, or something like that that uses the material that you already know, aka the pentatonic scale, but uses it in such a way that you haven't used it before, okay? There's a new rhythm in there. There's a new technique in there. There's a new way of combining the notes that you haven't seen. This is how we actually get better once we've gotten this basic process of improvisation down, okay? Is just like a language, okay? Once you learn how to spell words and you learn how to construct basic sentences, what do you have to do? Well, you need to read some books, right? That use additional vocabulary that you'll continue to learn. You need to watch movies in the language that you're learning. You need to just consume lots of information, and your brain will start to figure out new ways of synthesizing the same things, new ways of using the same words and things that you already know to be able to communicate differently, different ideas. Music is also very language oriented in that way. A lot of people consider music itself to be a language, okay? And I definitely can't disagree with that. So with that being said, what I want to do is I want to show you some cool licks that you can learn, and I'm going to show you how you can practice these licks too, so that it's not just you copying them, but it's actually going to be you taking these licks and then being able to change them and make them your own, so that you actually make your soloing better and you're not just copy pasting licks it, okay? So with that being said, let's take a look at our first lick that we're going to learn. Okay, so our first lick that we're going to learn is going to be kind of challenging, but I think some of you will like it. It's going to have some different rhythms that you might not have tried and some different techniques, and it's going to be using the same good old pentatonic scale that we've already learned before. So with that being said, let's hear what it sounds like. So, kind of a challenging lick, okay? We're going to have a couple of other ones that we'll look at that will be a little bit easier, but what's going on here? So, first of all, as you can see, it already sounds a lot better than what I was doing before, right? It's not because I played different notes or anything like that. It's still the same pentatonic scale. There is actually one note that is not in the pentatonic scale, which I will tell you about. So first of all, the chord progression is going to be really important. So this is mainly C sharp minor, and this is actually the chord progression from the song Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer, by the way. Great chord progression, C sharp minor, and then A and E, okay? But you can just play the C sharp minor pentatonic scale over the whole thing. So actually, the first little bit of it does start with like our box number 1 C sharp minor pentatonic scale, but right off the bat we have a technique that I hear not a lot of more intermediate guitar players playing, which is a nice little slide like this. So we're sliding from the 9th fret to the 12th fret, and then right afterwards a different rhythm, okay? So this is actually 16th note triplets. So the tempo of this backing track is pretty slow. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So a triplet, an 8th note triplet, which is what you might all be used to, would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that would be 8th note triplets. Usually when people get into triplets, they try to play 8th note triplets, which is great. But sometimes at a slower tempo, 8th note triplets can be a little bit boring, okay? So these are going to be 16th note triplets, which are twice as fast. So there's actually 6 notes per beat with a 16th note triplet. So it's kind of like this. Triplet, 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 triplet. So I won't overdo it with the rhythmic conceptualization and all this stuff, but just know you're going to go like this. So you're just going to slide up to that top note of that box, and then you're going to 9th fret of the first string, and then 12th fret of the second string, and 9th fret of the second string again. So try working on that until you get that faster. You can do it slower. And then we basically do the same thing, but now we're transferring over positions. So like the 5th position of the C sharp minor pentatonic scale, this is based on, but it's just like the top 2 strings. This is a really cool pro tip, is if you're having trouble switching between your pentatonics positions and you've already learned them, just stick to the top 2 strings, or 2 strings, like maybe the second and third string. Pick 2 strings and transition between your different patterns like that. It can be a lot less information to process than always processing the whole entire pattern for every single different position. So, and now you got this little box actually here on the 9th fret and 7th fret. So same thing, I'm sliding from the 7th fret to the 9th fret, and then playing 7th fret again, and then 9th fret and 7th fret. Okay, so we have. So even actually, if I stopped right there, okay, I know that I could show you the whole entire rest of this lick. Sometimes what I like to do in order to change my playing and start getting new vocab into the solo is go, hey, you know what? I don't even need to use this whole entire lick. I could just say, let me take, ooh, that's a really cool concept there. This whole little rhythm. Da, 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 with the sliding and so on and so forth. And I might say, okay, let me play around with that idea. Actually, let's do that before we even take a look at the rest of the lick. I'm just going to play around with that little idea. You notice how this actually doesn't take that long. You can just find one little snippet of a cool piece of vocabulary. You don't even have to learn the whole solo from John Mayer or Jimmy Page or whatever. You can just take like literally a half a second of something that they do and go, that's a cool little idea, that little rhythm or the sliding into the note. Let me see if I can move that to different places on the neck and different parts of the pentatonic scale in different positions. Like, what if I did that somewhere else? I'm playing a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have normally played because I'm thinking, oh wow, that's a cool like little idea. Let me mess with that one little idea. I could just end this video right now, okay, if I wanted to. I think that that's kind of the main concept that I want you guys to understand is, oh, I learned this cool piece of vocabulary that is kind of pre-written out, but it's not the idea of memorizing a lick and I just copy-pasted in my solo, okay? It's about learning a new concept from the lick. I hope that this is making sense. But let's finish this lick and we'll do one more and we'll see if we can extract more little tiny concepts like this. It's really not that complicated. If you know your scales and you've gotten all that basic stuff down, then you can really, really milk a lot out of this idea of learning new pieces of vocabulary, okay? So we had this. Now, we're just gonna actually stay in that position. This position here, we're gonna go. I'll set up for a second. So now we're kind of doing something similar, but we're changing the rhythm back to 16th notes actually. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, okay? But I'm not just playing straight 16th notes. I'm actually hammering on to the first one. You notice how that actually makes a big difference. That little hammer-on, it's an extra little thing that you won't hear a lot of other people playing. But when you throw those little slides, those little hammer-ons in there, it's those extra details that really make your playing stand out. So, and then same thing, we're just transferring that over. So now we're transferring it over to, I believe this is the 4th position of the pentatonic scale. And we're going hammering on from the 5th to the 7th, going back down to the 5th, and then the 6th and 4th of the 3rd string. So this is all just from that pentatonic position. Again, you should know your pentatonic positions, you know, fairly okay if you're getting to this point of like learning this kind of vocabulary. And then we're just going a couple other things after that. So we had... we had... This part is really cool. So this is the only thing that breaks the pentatonic scale, okay? This note right here on the 5th fret of the 1st string is not in that pentatonic position, okay? But it is in the key. So this is why it's nice to learn your pentatonic scales, but then also do learn the full major scale, because then you can do stuff like this. So in that particular measure, we're actually playing over the A chord. So the reason that I figured out, I could play that note is because, well, that's actually just an A triad. So for one split second, we're using a triad. And notice it's only like 1 fret different from the note that was in the pentatonic scale. But it makes so much of a difference because now it sounds like I really know what I'm doing, and it sounds like I'm actually playing the chord changes, okay? So this is a cool example of how you can actually use triads in your soloing. A lot of times people think triads, chords, they think rhythm guitar playing. No. Triads are also very important for actually playing your solos, okay? So we're just hammering on from the 4th to the 6th fret, and then we're kind of holding that down and putting our middle finger down and barring down the 5th fret. So we're right there in that 2nd measure. And then now we're back to the pentatonic scale. So we're going to hammer on from 5th to the 7th on the 2nd string, and then go back to the 5th. And then we're going to land right here. This is such a cool little move that you hear a lot of people doing, including probably the first person that heard this do this is Hendrix. And now this is actually a triad. It's an E major triad. Okay, it's actually an E major triad in first inversion if you're familiar with your triads at all. But we're hammering on one of the notes. And of course, this E major triad, by the way, is actually found in that pentatonic position. So there's actually triads that are found in the pentatonic scale, like you don't have to change anything. Okay, so that E major triad is right in there. So really, really cool stuff. So I would say the main concept I would take away from this lick is that little beginning part. To me, that's my favorite part of the lick. But then you could say, okay, let me just plant that seed in my mind. Hey, let me learn the chord progression when I'm soloing over something and see if maybe I could even just find one triad. Okay, you don't need to necessarily know all of them all over the neck. That's great. It would be great if you do know them all over the neck. But see if you can find one triad for each of the chords in the progression and then mix that in with your actual pentatonic scales. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at one more lick. I don't want this video to go too long. We'll go ahead and look at this one over here. By the way, all of these licks came from the video I made last week. 7 awesome pentatonic licks in E major. So if you want to hear all the licks, there's actually 7 of them, and it's just really quickly played through all of them so you can hear them. Then make sure you go ahead and check out that video, okay? So let's hear this lick. Okay, so now, of course, couple of cool different things happening here, okay? Now you can see we're actually using some bending in the pentatonic scale, but we're using different bends that you don't hear a lot of people using all the time, okay? A lot of times if you're taking that first pentatonic box, this is the bend you hear, everyone. I mean, if I had $1 for every single, or a nickel for every single time I've heard somebody play that bend, I would have a lot of money by now, okay? But right off the bat, we're starting with a different bend completely. So we're starting with this bend. So we're actually bending this E note here on the 12th fret of the first string up a whole step to F sharp, okay, which is obviously, that note is actually coming from the next position over of the pentatonic scale, okay? But we're playing it in the first position by bending up, okay? So bending, if you're having trouble with bending, okay, the easiest thing to do is make sure you play that note that we're bending up to. So if it says it's a full bend, then you go up 2 frets, play that note, And make sure it sounds the same when you're bending, okay? Just a really quick bending tip thing is also make sure your thumb's over the neck, okay? You need that kind of for the leverage of the bend. And make sure your fingers actually kind of flat too. A lot of times people get told playing your fingertips. Playing on your fingertips is important for most things, but for bending, playing on your fingertips is not the best idea. You're kind of playing just a little bit off your fingertip. Like if you see right there, the string's probably contacting right there on my finger, not right on the fingertip, okay? So, and then just playing these two notes here in the 9th fret and then the 12th fret of the 2nd strings. And those are just 8th notes, 1 and 2 E and. Those are 2 16th notes there. And then we're playing that same rhythm. So notice how the rhythm being the same, it's not a boring rhythm, it's a cool rhythm, but the fact that it's repeating kind of creates some continuity to the lick too, right? So now when I change the notes, you think, oh, that's like the same musical idea. It's part of the same thing that's going on. So now this is a really cool bend. This one might be kind of challenging. So we're going to the 14th fret and we're going to bend up 1.5 steps. Okay, why is that? Well, that's because the next note in the pentatonic scale, this is actually C sharp here, which is the same note as this note here in the 9th fret, right? Well, the next note in the pentatonic scale is 3 frets above that. So we're actually bending to the note that's 3 frets above that, which is going to require us to bend more. But that's a bend that you don't hear people playing a lot. By the way, it's easier, in my opinion at least, to do that same bend here in the 2nd string rather than do it on the 1st string. Okay, you could theoretically have done this on the 1st string, but it's harder to do that bend, and it kind of doesn't sound as good to me. It doesn't sound as fat. It sounds kind of thin on that 1st string. That's one thing you'll learn practicing bending is that there's certain strings where the same note and the same bend, it sounds better or feels better to execute on a different string. Okay. The 2nd string, a lot of times, especially past the 12th fret, is very solid. So we had, and then we're gonna go. So we just do the bend, release the bend, play the same fret again, and then now we have the 12th fret of the 2nd, 13th fret of the 3rd, and then back to the 12th fret of the 2nd. And then this really cool lick here or part of the really cool lick, this really cool thing over the A chord again. Notice how the A chord kind of gets this a little bit of a special treatment sometimes. So we're going to do this. Ooh, I love that lick. That's like kind of like a train horn type of thing. So we're actually bending this 11th fret of the 3rd string up a full step, okay? So, but while we're holding that, we're gonna play with our pinky, we're gonna play the 12th fret of the 1st string. So that right there might not have been something that you've thought about before. Oh, wait a second. I can bend and play another note at the same time. And on top of that, it's a note that it has a string skip. It's a note away. I could have done like a note on the adjacent string in the 2nd string. That's really cool too. But this is less common to hear. So think about that. Oh, what if I bend and then I play a string skip or play another note? I could have gone. It's kind of hard to go too far away in that case, but you could actually do something like this too. Ooh, playing the 9th fret of the 1st string. You can't hold it at the same time and go super far away. But anyway, so string skipping, that's part of the concept that we're working on here too. So, and then we play that note again while it's still bent. Play it while it's still bent. Release it. And then play the 9th fret of the 3rd string. pull off to that, actually. Pull off to that 9th fret. You could pick it again, but pull off to it. And then another string skip, sliding from the 9th fret of the 5th string to the 11th fret. Again, this is actually mostly all just coming from this pentatonic scale. Everybody knows, okay? So even that little concept right there, I might mess around with that. I like that idea a lot. I might change the rhythm to it too. I don't even need to change any of the notes. Let's actually mess around with that concept, and then we'll finish that lick up. Oh, what if I just hold it? So you notice how I'm taking that predetermined piece of vocabulary again, but I'm changing the rhythms, I'm changing stuff, I'm playing whatever I want, maybe in between. It's these little building blocks that we modify, okay? So we have that slide, and then we just go right up the pentatonic scale again. And then we actually play this little double stop here, 2 notes at the same time on the 9th fret. So just bar that down, okay? So lots of cool stuff. I could mess around with just that double stop. Oh, wait, I've never really thought about that, playing that double stop there. There's 2 notes at the same time. What can I do with that? Oh, look, I just kind of brought back in that same first concept. Oh, look, I kind of reversed it. I did that part from the end, and I did the part from the beginning. So if you want the PDFs to all 7 awesome pentatonic licks in E major so that you can expand your vocabulary and learn tons of new ways of using the pentatonic scale, which will completely skyrocket your soloing, then make sure you check the link in the description down below. And on top of that, you'll also get the backing track to practice with. Also, make sure you head on over to the Jamsville merch store where you can pick up an awesome Jamsville t-shirt just like this one I'm wearing. It fits great. It's so comfortable. I love wearing this shirt and it looks cool. And people will be like, wow, what's that Jamsville thing that you're wearing? And you can tell them about the channel and they go, oh, wow, that's awesome. You're a guitar player. You must be really good because you're watching Jamsville and you got a Jamsville shirt. Also, make sure you check out my music, my song, My Divine. It's what you're hearing playing in the background right now. It's available on all major streaming services. Check the link in the description below. Make sure you drop a like on the video. It really helps get to more people so I can help more people get better at their guitar soloing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can get better at your guitar soloing by not missing any more videos. And until next time, listen, learn, and jam.